Hi there, welcome to a new tutorial series I'm going to do on how to script a Deathrun map from start to finish. As that title implies, we won't be looking too much into the mapping side of things, though if scripting is involved, I'll obviously also show the Radiant side of things. There's plenty of good tutorials on YouTube you can watch if you have yet to learn how to map. You can also watch my mapping live streams. Some people might find that useful to learn from. Um, Let's start with a quick introduction about myself and CodeScript/GSC, which is the language we'll be using throughout this tutorial series. Um, I go by the name Atrix nowadays. I used to be known as Slayer, and kind of still am. Um, but I thought that was kind of cringy, so I changed it. Um, I'm the owner of Raid Gaming, which is a gaming community mainly for COD 4 that also hosts servers such as Deathrun, Surf, High Jump, you name it. I'm the developer of COD 4 Surf and Raid's current Deathrun mod. I've also made quite a few maps, as you can see. That's not all of them, but some should not be named. I've not only done work in COD 4, but also World at War and Black Ops 3. I've made a few zombies maps, for example. So onto CodScript then. CodScript, or commonly referred to as GSC, is a procedural scripting language, meaning it's interpreted at runtime. CodScript is not a compiled language, which basically means our game will just take any scripts you feed it and read them whenever the map loads. If you're looking to find errors in your scripts, for example, and debug them, you're going to have to run your game each time. GSC is fairly easy to learn though, as you'll come to realize during these tutorials. There's loads of community resources available to learn from as well, ranging from tutorials to live streams, which I've got a few of, to full-blown open source mods. Topics. Here's a list of topics we'll be going over in these tutorials, from the very basics of making a start door to um, traps and end rooms. We'll be going over these topics in detail. I'll be explaining everything along the way so you get an idea of what's going on and you can eventually make some cool things yourself without needing to go and copy paste other people's code. I've probably missed a few things, but I ran out of vertical space, as you can see. Um, don't worry though, we'll be covering stuff like music as well. If there's any topics not listed here that you would like to see covered, leave a comment and I'll consider doing a video on it. In today's tutorial, we'll be limiting ourselves to the creation of a start door that will open up after a while and print some messages, as well as create our very first trap, which will be a rather basic move up and down trap. I'll be keeping things very basic for now, but in the next tutorial we're going to optimize our code a bit. Here's a few handy links, most of which are related to GSC. They'll also be in the description of the video. The first one's my community, Raid Gaming, as I've explained in the intro. You can visit our forums or Discord if you ever need any help or want to show off a cool thing you made. You can also hop on our servers if you want to come talk to us in Discord. Visual Studio Code is my editor of choice, which I'll be using throughout this series. I'll be going over some basic extensions in a bit. You'll want to install these if you're planning on using VSCode as well. The script reference is the place to find every function available to you in COD 4. You can use the search bar with fuzzy search to find whatever you need based on like the function name. Everything is neatly categorized and very well explained. I've made some corrections to some of the parameters and descriptions and usage compared to, say, zeros, for example. The beginner's guide to CodScript is some written documentation of the GSC language. I would highly advise anyone to read through it so you can get a proper understanding of what I'm doing, as I won't be going over most of the syntax related questions in these tutorials. we're going to focus mostly on the actual logic and functions we'll be using. Zero's wiki is basically the old mods repository. It has a bunch of really useful tutorials for several COD games, including COD 4, with topics in mapping, scripting, modding, whatever. Throughout these tutorials, I'll be using custom compile tools, which make my life a little easier. For example, they support automatically copying your fast file to your user maps folder, as well as automatically copying over all the images used in your map into your IWD. Right, I'd say it's time to hop into Radiant then. As you can see, I've prepared a small section of a map we'll be working on throughout the series. This is going to be our start door, and this is going to be our first trap here. So first things first, we're going to create our script file. So we're going to go to COD 4 folder, going to go into rule, maps, MP, and we're going to want to create a new text document, rename it including the extension to mpdr or Deathrun your map name. In my case, this is going to be mpdr-omni.gsc. Then we're going to open it in VSCode. Now that we're in VSCode though, I'm going to hop into the extensions a bit. There's 4 extensions I would recommend. It's 4, right? Actually, it's 5, depending on what you want to do. So first things first, the singular most important one, COD script. This is support for the actual GSC language in Visual Studio Code. There's 2 extensions. The other one's COD Sense, but that one's no longer maintained from what I can tell. So I decided to fork it and improve it a bit. So this is my extension. So you literally just install it. There will be an install button right here. Instead of disable and uninstall, you just click it. Then I've got my own theme, which you can install. It's called Zephyr. This one, same, just install it. There's a really useful one if you want to mod, or you'll also find it very useful once we get into doing sound aliases, for example. Rainbow CSV. As you can see from the screenshot, it just picks a different color for each column in a CSV file. Then there's 2 more I use quite often for GSC while scripting, and that is to do highlight and to do tree. These kind of go hand in hand. Basically what you can do is you can type, let's say we've got a function here. You can type to do this thing and it'll highlight it. And you can find every to-do in every file, and you can hop right to that section of your script. It's very useful if you have, say, some room or whatever that you right now don't want to do, but you want to remind yourself to do it, then this is very useful. So first things first, we want to start off with our main function. This is the entry point. This is the only thing that always gets called whenever your map loads. So whenever your map loads, the game will just find a function by this name and execute it. So the only thing that is sort of required in here is we're going to go to maps mp load main. What this is going to do is it's going to initialize some of the base game things. Don't have to worry too much about it. Just know that this line is, I think it's required. That said, I'm fairly certain the Deathrun mod at the very least does it for you in the actual mod, but it's always good to place it there anyway. So for our start door, this is the first thing we're going to do. We're going to want to make a new thread. Well, no, we're going to write a new function first, and we're going to call it start door. there's going to be a radiant side to this first, because I haven't prepared anything at all related to the scripting side of things. So what I'm still going to have to do is select this. Right, let me actually hide the clip first. Okay, select these three things, because that's everything from our start door that is going to have to move. So we're going to select that. We're going to right click, script, brush model. We're going to press N to bring up the KVP window so we can give it a target name. We're going to give it the target name of start underscore door. Just be very obvious, very clear name. So we're going to go back into our script. Now, the first thing we're going to have to do is actually get that start door entity to execute stuff on, to do some things with. So I'm going to say door equals, we're creating a variable here. And this variable is going to store our entity. Now, how are we going to get this entity? We're going to use the getEnt function. This takes two parameters. The first parameter is the actual key, the value, and the second parameter is the key. So in this case, our key is target name, and the value that is associated with this is start door. So as you can see, this is exactly the same thing as we entered in Radiant. So we've got our entity now. Now, what do we want to do now? Well, first things first, we're going to want to wait until the round actually starts. So what we can do that using the wait till notation. We're gonna want to call this on level, which is the just global level instance, and we're gonna wait for a notification to be sent by the Deathrun mod, which is called round start or round started. I don't remember particularly. Let me actually quickly check. It's not a problem. I seriously question why all of this shit is in here. Anyway, let's open up Slavey 2. Round. It started. Yes. Okay. You see, it's fine. Even if you're an experienced scripter, there's still some things you're gonna have to look up, or it's perfectly fine. I could have just pulled up a Deathrun mod and looked for round start, and it could have found this as well, but it doesn't really matter. So basically, what this is gonna do is it's gonna wait for the mod to send a notification, a global notification called round started. And once that is fired, this line is going to make it our start door function continue executing. So anything past this line isn't going to execute until this is called. So once our notification is sent, we're going to move the door. We can do this using, and I'm going to pull up the script docs for this actually, so you can get an idea of how to use this. So we want to move. So logically speaking, we would think that move would be somewhere in the function name. And if we type move in the search bar, you can see, oh, there's move X, move Y, and move Z. Also move to, but we're going to ignore that, and move gravity as well. But we're going to ignore those for now. I'm going to keep it very basic. So basically, in Radiant has three axes. There's the x-axis, which is this way, and you've got the y-axis, which is this way, and then z is the height in COD. So we want the moveZ function. So here is a quick explanation of the parameters it takes. We're going to also make it accelerate and decelerate a bit, so we get this sort of feeling that it's, real. Like in real life, you rarely would see something that would instantly start moving at a certain speed. No, it accelerates, and to stop it decelerates. Well, technically possible. It's something you wouldn't usually see, just instant acceleration. So we want move Z. So to use this, we're going to call it on our door entity. So basically, whatever variable containing a reference to an entity you can get through getEnt, it's going to move that specific entity. So in this case, our door. We're going to want to move it by, how many units do we want to move it by? Let's see, where is the top of this? Do we want to move it all the way down? I don't think I actually, it doesn't really matter. Let's see. So at the very least, well, at most like 816, but I think I'll just do like, I don't know, 700. 700 should be fine. So we want to move it down, so we need negative 700. Then our second parameter is the amount of time it's going to take to move. This is, I'm fairly certain, excluding the acceleration and deceleration. So we want this to be kind of slow. So let's say 6 seconds. Then we're going to accelerate over a second and decelerate over a second. So congratulations, we've now made a door move. Actually, we haven't, because this function hasn't been called yet. So it's not going to get executed, it's just there. We've defined it. What we want to do now is in our main function, we want to actually call this. Now, considering there's a wait here, this is going to be a blocking function. So what we're going to want to do is thread it using the thread keyword, and then call it using start door. If we left out the thread, what it would do is anything past this point would wait for this function to finish, and thus also wait for this round started notification to be fired. But we want that thread keyword, obviously. So we've got a moving door now. We can hop in game to check, I suppose. Yeah, let's hop in game. Right, let's compile. Let's check real quick. Yeah, compile BSP. Oh, there's a leak. Is that because there is no skybox? This wouldn't stop it from. Yeah, it's probably because there's no skybox. Whatever. Build files file. It's going to ask us to create our zone files. Yep, let's do that. Right, let's build. I've got a few custom command line settings in the Run tab here. This one just sets my resolution to 1600 by 900. This one sets the game to windowed mode. This sets the mod I want to run. So it's Deathrun dev old. And this one's the game type Deathrun. I don't know why this fast file compile is taking so long. Interesting. Okay. Now that is for. Oh yeah, that's if we want to make a load screen. We can ignore that for now. So we should be able to run our map now. So we're going to run it. We are, as we can see, it's moving. But that's a little too fast, isn't it? Like as soon as the round starts, it goes off. So what we can do is, after this has fired, we can just add an additional wait. So we're going to wait, say, 5 seconds. That's enough time for the activator to get ready. Also, I thought that was a little fast, so I'm going to increase this to 9. Actually, 10. 10 will do. Right. Actually, let's increase this to 10. And we're going to print a message to everyone. Our message is going to be Welcome to, we're going to use a color code here, Omni, which is our map name. And let's also tell them that the start door will open in 10 seconds. Start door opening in 10 seconds. Right, so we've got a few messages printing. Let's show that. We don't need to recompile the BSP, just the fast file, since we've only made changes in the script. So build fast file. This should be a lot faster. Yes, it is. Run the selected map. So now it should take 10 seconds for the door to come down, and it should print those messages at the start of the round. Let's spawn in. Welcome to Omni. Start door opening in 10 seconds. And it should start moving. Yep. I feel like that speed is fine. Yep. Yep. Okay. So, this trap here. What are we going to do with it? Basically, it's going to move down one by one because we don't want to have it be, jumping on this platform here and then him getting fucked over because these go down instantly as well. So we're going to move this one down first, and this one, and then this one. Now how? We're going to... We've got a tiny problem here because... Let me hide the clips real quick. These platforms are attached to these... whatever it is, the metal cables basically holding this up. Now, if we were to move this, it would either disconnect here or here. We can solve this fairly easily, actually. And it would only cause a minor visual problem. So we're going to set our grid to the smallest possible scale. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to make it a tad bit smaller so it fits in nicely. And then copy this. Going to hide the ones on the outside because these aren't going to be moving, so we don't need them right now. I'm going to copy these over everywhere, or for all platforms. Copy. Copy. Then I want to hide the ones on the outside again, because we won't be needing these. I'm hiding these with H, by the way, if anyone was wondering. There you go. So since these are inside of it, they'll just move along. Now I do want to unhide the clips for this. So we're going to get into... yeah, let's add arrays into the mix to make this a bit more efficient. Let's hide clips for now because I need to select these first. So I'm going to select everything to do with this little platform here. Right. Unhide clips. Got to select the clips as well because otherwise you'd be able to go straight through these wires and it could cause problems when it's coming back up. So I've got all of that selected except for the outer ones which I've hidden. I then want to make a script brush model out of it so we can actually do something with it in script. I'm going to give it a target name of, and I'm going to group this by with a prefix by the trap number. So I'm going to call it trap1 and I'm going to call it a platform. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other ones. So select the cables. Oh, not the platform. Select the cables, then unhide the clips. Right click, script brush model, give it a target name for trap1 platform. Actually, yeah. should work because that one was created first. Whoop. Select. Clips. Script brush model. Target name trap on platform. So that's that for that trap. That said, we still need to have the activator actually be able to activate it. So to do that, we are going to go into the activator area, which is here. We're going to place a trigger. I'm going to be using this panel to have the activator activate the trap. I'm going to make it fairly big, so it's easy to reach. I'm going to make it into trigger use touch. Now, there's two options here, trigger use touch. I would highly advise against the use of trigger use because you have to be fairly close to the center of it to actually trigger it for some reason. So a trigger use touch, on the other hand, you just have to be touching it. I'm going to give this target name of trap1trig. That's that. Let's go into the scripting side of things. So I am going to categorize these. Yeah, actually, doesn't matter. We should make a trap1 function. So we've got our first trap. So first things first, obviously we're going to want to pull in our entities before we do anything else. So we're going to get the trigger using the exact same thing we've done before. Trap1trig. Target name. There we go. Now, for the platforms, since there's 3 different entities with the same target name, getEnt isn't usable because there's an array of different platforms with the exact same target name. So to pull this in, we're going to say platforms is getEnt array trap1 platform target name. Now this is going to turn an array of each platform. So we've got all of them to use. Then what we want to do is we're going to set a hinge string on the trigger first. Which will basically, well, once the activator touches the trigger, it'll tell him press F to activate. So let's see, press. Let's give it a red color as well. Now here comes a thing most Deathrun mappers nowadays know, although I still see it sometimes. People tend to do this, which is not very user friendly. There's actually a shortcut. Well, not a shortcut, but like a sort of code you can use. It's a keyword to insert the actual use key that the user has bound, which is end1. So this is going to say press F by default. Let's go back to white to activate. So now we've got a hinge string. What else do we want to do? We want to wait for that trigger to be triggered. Now, once a trigger is triggered in game, it'll send a notification to that trigger entity, and that notification is called trigger. We can pass a second argument onto the waitTill function because there's actually more than one. Well, alongside this trigger notification, there's also an entity passed, which is the user of the trigger, in this case the activator. So we can call it player. Now we can use that player later. Actually, correction, we don't actually need this in the activator code. That's right. Yeah. Right, let's delete the trigger then. Yeah, that's about right. I'm sorry, I haven't really prepared much for the actual like scripting and Radiant side of things, so I'm just doing this while, well, I'm just coming up with this while, recording. So I might make a little mistake here and there, but I'll usually correct myself. And if I end up making a mistake in the video and leave it in, I'll probably correct myself in a comment or something. Um, I'll pin the comment as well, if that's a thing you can do on YouTube. I don't actually know. Probably can, right? Yeah. So for the actual trap, then we're gonna wanna since we're gonna want to make these go down one by one, but we want to keep them down until all of them have gone down, and then we want to move them back up. So this down, this down, this down, then move them all up at the same time. Actually, let's not move them all up at the same time. Let's have this one go up first, then this one. Yeah, let's do that. So first things first, we're going to want to create a different function for this, which we're going to call trap1 platform. Actually, this is probably the easier way if we're making them all come up at different times as well. Now, before we actually fill in the trap1 function, the trap1 platform function, we're going to loop over each platform. So write a for loop. I is 0, I below platforms dot size, I plus plus. Now what this is going to do is it's going to initialize a variable by the name I. It's going to set it to 0. Now, as long as I is below the amount of platform entities there are, or the size of the array of called platforms, which is equal to the amount of trap1 platform entities there are, and then increment I by 1 each time. Then we can get the individual platform entity by its index. So GSE is 0 indexed, so the first entity would be 0, then the second one 1, the third one 3, 2. What am I saying? 2. Yeah. So since we made this entity first, this would be 0, this would be 1, this would be 2. And since trap1 platform is going to be a blocking function, we're going to want to thread it and do our call. So it's just going to call trap1 platform and each platform individually, but we're going to wait for, let's say, 2 seconds, or maybe, yeah, let's do 2.5. And considering we've added a wait in here now, we're also going to want to thread trap1, so it doesn't block the rest. So for each platform, we're going to, as I said, we're going to move it down and back up. So since we've called trap1 platform on the platform entity, that platform entity is now accessible using the keyword self. So we're going to once again use move Z, and we're going to want to move it down by, let's see how many units. Let's do 320 units. So minus 320. Gonna move it down faster than up. So let's do 2.5 with a acceleration time of 0.75, deceleration time of 0.5. That's good. Now, after it's once we've actually made it move, we're going to want to wait to do anything else until it's stopped moving. We can do this by calling wait till on the platform entity, and the notification it's going to wait for, in a case of a move, is move done. This will fire once it's done moving. Then once it's done moving, let's see, how long is this going to take? Let's wait, 2.5, so that's 5 seconds for all of them to start moving down. Let's just wait. Yeah, let's wait 8 seconds. And then you can start moving up again. Self move Z, 320 over 4 seconds. Acceleration 0.75, deceleration 0.75. And that's that. We have now made a trap, I think. Let's see. Gonna have to compile the BSP. Build the fast file. Run the map. Let's see if we mess something up. Auto assign. There's no clip into the activator area. Press F to activate so it shows the hint. And it goes down. That's a little too slow to my taste. Going up is fine though. Also stays down a bit too long. So let's change this to, let's see, 6.5. The acceleration, let's change this to 0.5 and this to point, you know what, no deceleration. You can be 1.75. That should be fine. Build fast file. So as you can see, it works. All right. There's no clip. Activate. That looks better. Although the weight is a bit too slow. The weight is a bit too long. Let's see. Let's try 1.5 then. Right. So, that's it for this tutorial. Next time we'll go over. We'll probably make one more moving trap, and then we'll also do a rotating one. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'll see if I cover any more topics in the next tutorial. That one's probably going to be a bit shorter than this one due to the fairly lengthy intro I did, I think. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed and learned something from this. I'll try to get one of these out at least every week. Yeah, I'll try to get one out every week. That said, thank you all for watching. As I said, I hope you enjoyed and learned something useful, and I will see you next time.